Hey, I'm Charleston Saylor, and I'm going to talk about renewable and sustainable energy in the United States. Before I talk about that, I want to explain what exactly renewable energy is. Renewable energy is the Earth's natural resources like the sun, water, wind, and biomass. And renewable energy is considered to be an alternative to the traditional fossil fuel energy and is a lot less environmentally damaging. When talking about renewable energy in the United States, there are two main arguments. One of them is that renewable energy can replace traditional energies like fossil fuels because renewable energy has certain advantages over those fossil fuels. And the other is that obviously renewable energy can't replace traditional energy because of certain disadvantages that it has. And this source comes from Carrie Thrombone, The Advantages and Disadvantages of Renewable Energy, and it was published on September 25th, 2020. So some of the main arguments for renewable energy is that we will never run out of it because it comes from sources like the sun, water, wind, and biomass. Another strong argument is that it contributes to a healthier atmosphere. There are less pollutants, less greenhouse gases, and it produces little to no pollutants basically. And it poses little to no threat to humans or the environment. In contrast, nuclear energy and emissions from fossil fuels do. It is important to understand because renewable energy is almost everywhere, we, as a country, the United States becomes less dependent on other foreign countries to give us our resources, like the Middle East and oil. This is significant not only to the United States, but also small countries that can now avoid those geopolitical conflicts that could occur and are usually settled by wars. And this is from Sustainability for All, 10 Reasons to Support Renewable Energy, and it was published on April 2nd, 2020. So the arguments, because there are a lot of arguments for, there are also a lot of arguments against renewable energy. And the biggest one is the upfront cost, and renewable energy is not always available because of, obviously the sun is not always up, there's night, and random weather events that could disrupt those renewable energy sources. With the high upfront costs you have, of course you have to buy the equipment and then the installation, and it's just, a lot of people, especially in the United States, just cannot afford that. And with the setup, you also have geological limitations. Of course, renewable energy needs certain areas to work. Like solar plants need, of course, sunny areas where there's little to no shade. Hydro plants need a large body of water to work. And wind turbines obviously need high constant winds in order to function properly. And this moves into the next argument about efficiency. Renewable energy sources are not always as efficient as they could be compared to the traditional energy sources. And this comes from Clean Energy Ideas, and it was published on June 20th, 2019. Now there are two main solutions that I came up with, well, looking at certain websites and everything that I came up with. And the first is that renewable energy and traditional energy should be combined in order to work together. You're essentially getting the best of both worlds, because renewable energy doesn't always function to its potential, and with less traditional energy, you're also using less greenhouse gases and pollutants. And as we become more knowledgeable about renewable energy, we'll become less dependent on traditional energies. The next solution is the greater use of nuclear energy. And that might sound crazy, but there are a lot of advantages to it, like the low operation and setup costs, the reliable source of energy, low pollution output, and the high energy density that you get from nuclear power plants. However, there are pretty major problems with that, like accidents that are rare but have occurred, and the radioactive waste. And the biggest example is Chernobyl, obviously. And these sources come from Jack Ewen, nuclear power plant on October 13, 2020, and the first solution was from Drew D. Silver. Renewable energy is growing in the United States, and that was published on May 30th, 2020. So there are solid arguments for both renewable energy, whether to use it or not. However, time will only tell if renewable energy is the future of our nation or if there's a better alternative.